Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, this is Red Card from X2 Media, and hope you like my new shirt over there. Not a big fan of Sharia law, so like to see feminists take the same stance out there, but I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon. Speaking of feminists, we have Anita Sarkeesian, the lovely lady that everyone decides is a threat to society and is making women completely unhappy and doing nothing but, harassing the same people who she goes on this big panel about online bullying. So, no irony in that whatsoever. Yeah. And we also have the CNN bombshell that's showing, I guess, Bonadini or some other guy, but practically James O'Keefe from Project Veritas had one of his undercover reporters talk to a CNN producer who practically said that there is no evidence for this Russian investigation and that it's practically just a witch hunt, and but they're really only doing it for ratings because they are a business. And goes on to talk about how everyone who works at CNN practically is kind of at the point where they know it's a facade and that they get about 20 times less the audience that like the New York Times or other apparently reputable organizations. Of course, the New York Times is the same globalist propaganda mouthpiece, even though it's shifted hands a few times, just like the Wall Street Journal. It's the same publication that practically did everything they could to discredit and destroy Gary Webb's career. And for those who are unaware, Gary Webb is the journalist who, from a stroke of luck, happened to find someone gave him something that was going on in a court case, and he followed the leads because it was kind of really strange because it had to do with the whole Iran-Contra scandal, and they did everything they could. Instead of giving this guy a Pulitzer, which he should have gotten, they completely destroyed his career, and he ended up committing suicide. And by that, he was shot twice in the head. So, yeah. Seems like a lot of people get suicided. Like that one lady who decided to go to Haiti to investigate the Clinton Foundation and the possible connection to Laura Silsby and her child trafficking rings there. But, they happen to pardon Silsby, but, there's no need to actually check into that story to find out if there's any truth to it. So, yeah, it just happens that, people involved in the witnesses of that were going to testify, I guess, because there's a lawsuit against the DNC for Bernie supporters that were not happy that their money went to Hillary Clinton after she clearly stole it with her superdelegates and delegates from Bernie supporters. I mean, just look at New Hampshire. He wins, but she gets more delegates. Come on. It's total out in the open. And big thanks to WikiLeaks and independent media like Project Veritas because, they've gone on a huge campaign. I mean, he was pretty key in showing that of the Donald Ducks for his taxes, that whole thing. They try to make a big thing out of it, or ducks on the ground, or how they practically admitted causing shit at his, to get people to bird dog at his rallies and stuff like that to try to incite violence, and it just goes to show you. So, they even went as far as to try to silence James O'Keefe recently by trying to put $1 million lawsuit on him for doing investigative journalism, where he completely exposed the fact that the DNC is pay-to-play, managed to destroy the career of a few kind of political insiders that work for super PACs that do all kinds of dirty tricks. And sure enough, they tried to punish him for it. But this new evidence that's came out, everybody on the alternative media is practically just shouting it from the rooftops, but of course CBC and other media outlets here in Canada and in the States are not reporting on it. So obviously, no, they're more angry about the fact that Putin, not Putin, well, and Putin, but that Trump didn't have a Ramadan dinner, or that Trump is banning the mainstream lying media out of some of his conferences. And I think it's good thing, to be honest with you. Yeah, I understand that there's a freedom of the press, but what the press has done is so completely disingenuous and just outright, I mean, there would never have been this kind of commotion if this was Obama. Well, let's be honest. If Trump was black, there would not be all this crap that's going on in him. And hey, I'm not giving Trump a pass. There's been some things in recent light that I am disagreeing with him completely, and a lot of his base, they voted for him not to repeal and replace Obamacare. But, I guess he did, when he campaigned, did say he was going to make it better, but I think people just kind of automatically assumed that he was just going to repeal it, so I guess that's kind of on the fan base, but, at the same time, I really do not like what he's doing with his foreign policy, with this whole, making the skies of Syria just like the tinder of the possibility of starting up like the kindling of World War III. So that I'm kind of like I don't care how much stuff is going on in Syria, and mind you, a lot of people don't realize that Syria is a total psyop right now. I mean, that whole Syrian boy thing where he was in the back of the van was completely put there by the white helmets who are not the good guys. Netflix has done like this documentary showing just glorifying them and just demonizing Assad, but in a civil war that takes two to tango, and some of these white hats were affiliated with Al Qaeda. Just recently, there's one of their own that was shown taking trucks of people that were killed, and they're obviously working for the Free Syrian Army side. So, and a lot of the Free Syrian Army, the moderate rebels that Obama was so happily defending, did have Al Nusra, and they're even making up another group name where they're trying. So you can't bomb us because we're not Al Qaeda or Al Nusra or Free Syrian Army, and the Russians aren't buying it. They're just taking them out anyway. So, it's just crazy, really. It goes to show you that the mainstream media is completely manipulated. Megyn Kelly with her hit piece on Putin didn't work out. Putin was just kind of laughing at her, and he was smart. He gave her only about a 15-minute time to do her kind of interview, and I think it was kind of funny just how disingenuous Megyn Kelly is. Her ratings have gone down like ridiculously now since apparently even like the Sunday that just passed like 2 days ago, about a day ago, I guess, had horrible ratings too. So people are just tuning her out, tuning people in the mainstream media out. The liberals that need to have Trump impeached, though, are loving CNN, and then they just admitted that the only reason why they're covering the Russia debacle so much is because they need the ratings. Is they're practically just kind of appeasing a small group of liberals in the most trusted name in news, CNN, the most crusty name in news, the most thrusted name in news. You could just come up and make puns from those dickheads all day long if you wanted to, but when it comes down to brass tacks, just goes to show you that even Megyn Kelly, how she came from Fox. Fox is kind of going more liberal. A lot of conservative pundits on there are getting criticism. Bill O'Reilly probably deserved a lot of the criticism he got for getting kicked off there, but really it wasn't so much about the sexual allegations, whether or not they're true or not, which, he does kind of seem like the alpha type who kind of takes shit way out of proportion. Fuck it, we'll do it live! I love that video. That makes me laugh every time I watch it. But, then they're trying to go after Hannity, and just, for covering Seth Rich. And I'm sorry, but that's newsworthy. There's more evidence suggesting that Seth Rich was the leaker than there is that it was a Russian narrative. And, or the fact that Russia had complete control over the elections. And I don't know what happened, because Obama actually had people coming over, like independent OCSE people that were actually monitoring the elections. He spent extra time and extra resources to make sure that nothing was being meddled with. And I think that may be because he thought that Hillary was going to win, or maybe they did. Maybe there was something wrong with the machines, because apparently few of the machines in key areas went all crazy and haywire, and maybe they were going to rig it, but it turned out in Trump's favor. Because they said right now, when Trump said that there was millions of illegals and dead people that voted, he maybe meant about 2 or 3 million, to kind of even up the gap between I guess the popular votes that Hillary received over him, because the whole college elections for the different states, how they're worth different points and stuff for the electoral. But I mean, it's kind of interesting how it's came out that maybe up to about 5.7 million illegals and dead people voted last election. So, I mean, once again, Trump's proven right on, the fact that he's been mistreated and completely demonized. But what's going on with McMasterson, I definitely disagree with the whole Syria thing. All of the foreign policy plays power plays that have been put in Syria right now is really kind of giving me some doubts about the ability of Trump to actually, be an effective president, because it doesn't help, too, that Janet Yellen from the Fed. I mean, when Obama was running, they raised, once the entire, and this is when they were saying, oh, the economy's doing great, Obama saved us all these wonderful service jobs that are added, even though we got rid of all these part-time jobs because of Obamacare. We don't mention that, though. Or the fact that, people that have been looking for a job over, I think, 2 or 3 month period get omitted from the unemployment statistics and stuff. So it just goes to show you there. Or the fact that they incorporate GDP in most established Western nations by, drugs and, shady deals that go on with the banking institutions. And so that's allowed to be margined. So, yeah, it's crazy. It really is. That whole thing with Megyn Kelly, too, where she tried to, on Father's Day, I mean, it was such an obvious hit piece, and I'm glad that Alex Jones out there, I mean, like I said, many different videos, I don't agree with all of his politics and stuff like that, but hey, you compare Alex Jones, the last year of reporting, to the last year of CNN's reporting, and there's a huge difference. I would take Alex Jones any day over CNN or the mainstream media's reporting, because, hey, you know what, that Alex Jones and Owen Schroyer, he's a young guy, he does a great job. I used to be a big fan of his YouTube channel, and now I'm a big fan of watching him, take on social justice warriors when he goes to different rallies and stuff like that, and show just how ridiculous Antifa is. And even here in Canada, we're getting Antifa. They threw coffee on a rebel reporter, a black rebel reporter too. I mean, it's the same people that say that they're all for, racial harmony and equality, and anybody that has an opinion, even if you're an Uncle Tom, and they throw coffee on him and stupid shit like that. And or they attack people even in Canada with a MAGA hat on, or Calgary, it became a big thing, and some people were freaking out and being all social justice warrior douchebags. Also, McMaster, how they tried to shut down the Jordan Peterson when he was there, and what he's getting with on the Toronto campus with social justice libtards that are trying to kind of make that into a whole, oh no, you can't have free speech, or it's violence if you don't memorize the 70 some odd different genders that we're trying to purportedly. Hey, you know what? I'll give, for me, it's male, female. If you want to have transgendered, okay. I think as a point in society, I think we could say, all right, that 0.3% will give you that extra thing to appease it, even though you're a very minimal part of the population and nobody really, understands, because there's, that Riley dude who's a dude that dresses up as a woman to bang chicks. It's okay, why don't you just bang chicks? But hey, you know what? It's a new age. It's the current year. And I'm willing in all sensibilities, just for shits and giggles, and just for the sake of argument, to let that, to have that, third gender if they want it. But more than 3, ridiculous amounts of this huge spectrum of, shit that nobody past 30 is ever gonna fucking remember in their lifetime. It's Z or Zwer or Tear or Where. Fucking, I don't know. It's so ridiculous, all the different plurals that they have for themselves and shit. Z and G and intersex and... Oh my god, all that shit's kind of hard to fucking remember, let alone. But hey, if somebody came up to me, I have friends too that are transgender and stuff, and I totally respect them and love them for the people that they are. Not for their identity, not for what they want. If they want me to call them anything, alright, that's fine. But if somebody comes up to me and I don't know them and they want me to call them, fuck you, get the fuck out of my face, I'm that kind of person. But I'm willing to, hear people out and their arguments and stuff, and I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's like, they make you feel as if, like, every time that there's, like, a baby born, it's like, it's a boy or a girl. Oh my god, how dare you assume my baby's gender, you fascist neo-Nazi delivering scumbag! It's practically what they're taught in colleges and universities nowadays. And, this whole thing with Sargon and Anita Sarkeesian, I think it's kind of funny with VidCon. But, I mean, why even go to VidCon? I mean, yeah, it's cool you see, like, your friends there that have, kind of, like, people that are against feminism and stuff. And like, yeah, I guess it's kind of, like, cool to kind of, like, meet them as opposed to, like, talking to them on, like, interviews and hearing what they have to say in their videos. But, I mean, it's like the Vlog Brothers. Like, they're like, here they were going on there completely talking about how much that, like, they were trying to, like, compare Hillary and Trump's plan. You could totally tell they were Hillary's supporters. There was, like, it was so ridiculously easy to tell that they were lefty, and I guess one of them even, from what I've heard, I'm not 100% sure on this, or could actually link to a quote, but I've heard that they are, like, self-professed feminists, and so right there it goes to show you how much of a social justice warrior, libtard, fucking DNC for young, stupid people that the VidCon really is. But hey, on the bright side, at least people, went there, and as opposed to actually getting a conversation with Anita, of course she's gonna, be like, oh my god, they all showed up to hear what I'm gonna say. This is a direct example of them being fascist, and that they're bullying me, and you're a garbage human being, and I'm gonna go get a restraining order on you, because I'm the best. Practically what it is. So just imagine a female Cartman up there, except she doesn't look that fat or ugly, but whatever. I guess it's kind of like the Cartman on the inside. I would kind of declare Anita Sarkeesian. Especially when he tries to go on that one episode with the Heidi girl, where he's all, like, trying to virtue signal and pretend he's better than people. Kills can't be funny, you guys. Oh, I did the voice. But anyways, yeah, it's just kind of a big shit show. And then he goes on Joe Rogan, Sargon, and Joe Rogan's like, yeah, what, so what? Like, he's, like, trying to, like, say, that what he's saying is the same as what, like, playing the victim is what he's doing. But it's bullshit, because he was there just trying to hear what she was having to say. And, I mean, you can criticize somebody that has a really bad ideology, whose ideology has been pushed by so many different mainstream media, like mainstream, not just media, but gaming, by, pretty much everything in culture has, at one point, practically kiss Anita Sarkeesian ass, and just kind of gave into the bullshit feminist wage gap myth, or all the other rape culture myths or bullshit that she fucking purportedly. I mean, hey, you know what? Colleges and universities have that obligation to make sure that their students are safe, from physical violence and sexual violence and all that jazz. But I mean, they go about it the completely wrong way. And 89% of colleges and universities last year in the States reported absolutely no incidences, which completely debunks that whole 1 in 4, 1 in 5 statistic. So, it's just goes to show you it's kind of bullshit. But I mean, I'm not trying to, throw people under the bus that have experienced that stuff, because obviously it's harsh. And, I don't think anybody on the men's rights activists actually endorses rape, thinks that it's okay to, put a woman in the kitchen and put shackles on her or anything like that. But I actually find, if you're taking the feminist argument from, it's actually a lot of these people that are criticizing feminism because they don't go out and say anything against female genital mutilation, or like the Muslim culture and Sharia law. Like, I have that, I think that's more of a powerful feminist statement shirt right there than anything that the feminists, the third world feminists, will actually put out there. Because them, it's all about putting down guys, because you got to put down the man, because it's the patriarchy, the double secret patriarchy meetings, like on Steven Crowder, where we all go to these, like, man caves and buildings on secret meetings and plot about how we're going to destroy the female identity, because that's what we do now in 2017, which is total bullshit. Instead, I mean, when you look about how we've developed ever since the 60s, hell, even the 90s, we've gone light years. People don't care if you're interracially dating. People don't care who you want to fuck, or even these polyamorous relationships are being like accepted in society. Nobody really cares, you know. I mean, it's getting to the point where I think we've gotten more open as a society, and when they try to push this whole objectification of women, or you know, how the fact that every man is in on this like patriarchy, you know, thing, and we're, you know, if we're not putting women down, then there's no reason for feminism to exist. And it really is just one side over the other. It's like when people make fun of the meninist movement because they know how stupid it sounds, and well, it's kind of what we think of feminism for the most part. But you know, it's like Sargon said, I kind of agree with him on that stuff there, but I disagree with him on the whole on his whole saying that like objective media, and calling like Lauren Southern activist journalist or whatnot. It's so hard to keep an objective opinion, and like you would have to report on every single thing that's newsworthy, because when you selectively choose to report on certain things, you're even unconsciously showing your bias there, and then you have to have like a panel of people from different political viewpoints that identify that way to be able to have something somewhat, you know. But even then, it's like, how do you get everybody from every different political ideology, and then have them, A, go in order so that you can get them all having statements equally, and B, you know, like, just making sure that, you know, you get an accurate representation, and, like, that you get all the different sides of the viewpoints and everything. It's come on. Like you can just imagine how people from, like if you had like an Antifa person on there, or like people from like white nationalists on the panel, I don't think they would get along too well. Or like Sargon and Sarkeesian on the same panel would not work. Of course, I think Sargon now would have to stay about 50 feet. What's the restraining order distance? We'll just give him a microphone way back in the back of the audience, and he'll talk from there. Because that's feminism for you. That's the righteous censorship that they all want. And it's sad, it really is, to see just how much bullshit there is. And I mean, I like the whole anti-feminist argument bearing, you know, because Crowder, you know, like so many different people are there. Because they do give the opportunity for feminists to go talk, but they don't have a platform because they know their bullshit's going to get called out for the wage gap myth, for just their whole you know, systemized oppression bullshit, when, you know, more women are graduating colleges and universities, which means there's going to be more women that have useless college degrees than men in the future. So, because the robots are going to be replacing everyone, and we don't have a plan for that, so it's going to be total fucking bedlam in about 20 years. Anyways, I'm already seeing it now with McDonald's and other places replacing people with kiosks. And I tell you one thing, I will not order from a restaurant, even a fast food restaurant, that makes it so that I have to go through a computer, because fuck that shit. I want to make sure that even if I'm being, you know, my burgers are being made by snot-nosed, you know, high school kids, you know, or, you know, I mean, yeah, you can make the complaint that, or the argument that you know, computer is less likely to spit in your food. I mean, I would rather have that human element, because you never really know when it comes to machines. It could all be just part of their robot overlord plan to destroy us humans through horribly fast food, and like making sure that they like don't wash their instruments, and next thing you know, you get like fucking crazy rises of like botulism and Ebola and shit. Of course, that's probably just me being ridiculous. But anyways, it's kind of gone into this whole thing with the advancement of society, how there's all these like bullshit causes that are being pushed. And I think the good thing about the whole feminism is that a lot of people, I think feminism is one of the most wildly unpopular ideologies that is being pushed out there. And the thing is, it's being pushed not just by the UN, but just by kind of like these global entities that try to push all this crap like climate change and stuff. Like, the climate has always changed many different times in the past. IPCC, NOAA, and NASA are completely discredited, in my opinion, because they've been caught showing manipulated data. And every year they keep coming up with this whole bullshit, oh, it's the hottest year on record, blah, 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 blah. When, you know, they've completely manipulated the 1930s when they had a ridiculously high heat wave. And, you know, they are saying, oh, the ice is all going to melt and stuff, that even though the Antarctic ice sheets increased. And, you know, it's just so much. Their models have been wrong consistently. The 97% consensus is total bullshit. I researched it, and like, I even done a video on it where, you know, it was some chick's thesis paper where she sent out a bunch of questions and cherry picked the data, and, you know, practically, I mean, because a lot of people that are so-called deniers don't even really deny the fact that humans affect climate. You know, it's obvious that we do. I mean, when you look at how we cut a whole bunch of different, like you take an area that's rainforest and you take all that out, and it's gonna cause desertification, and that's just, when you get rid of all the nutrients and the stuff that kind of like blocks the, kind of keeps the water and wind cycle going. You start to get the desertification, and you lose a lot of like the soil dies off, and becomes sand and becomes where you can't really grow anything in it. So that's been proven. And a lot of these deniers, even though they try to accost them with fucking Holocaust deniers, which is total bullshit. And but they just disagree on how much of it is attributed to actual humans. I mean, when you look at the fall of the Egyptian Empire, and I've said this before in many different videos, when you look at a historical viewpoint, the medieval warm period, there's many different periods beforehand where it was warmer than it is today, and or colder than it is today. It's just the natural life cycle of the planet. I'm more worried of the Yellowstone fucking caldera going off because it's overdue than I am of climate change in my lifetime, or my niece's lifetime, or any potential kids that I have down the road's lifetime. It's really not an issue at this point, because the science has been wrong on their models ridiculous amount of times. The ClimateGate emails, the ClimateGate 2.0 emails, I think the East Anglia emails, it's just ridiculous how much they've turned it into a political agenda. And that's the scary thought, really, when you think about it, because I'm seeing so many different aspects of society turn into a 1984 kind of control grid. And, it used to be before where when I would, or anybody else would call the deep state, they'd get laughed at pretty much and be like, oh yeah, the deep state. 10 years ago, people had a lot more trust in mainstream media. But I think that whole, the fact that the media and the people were lied to with Iraq, with a lot of stuff, it's just kind of indicative of what's going on, which is kind of people getting more awake in the broader scale of things, really. Because people aren't buying CNN's bullshit anymore. I mean, yeah, they're getting a lot of, they're getting much more traffic than they did last year at this time of year, but it's mostly from liberals that want to see, gotta get Trump impeached. Impeach 45. Maxine Waters. Impeach 45. Impeach 45. Which president was Bush? Impeach 43? 45? 40, I can't remember. She's so far fucking gone off her rocker. And it's funny how she has these little rallies. She has to have speakers on the outside where all these Trump supporters are being like, support the president, you cunt. Freaking, she's on the inside. Impeach 45. Impeach 45. Impeach 45. Fucking so sad. It's ridiculous. It really is. And here in Canada, we got the Left Honourable Prime Minister Pink Socks reporting for duty, showing off his virtue signaling to the world, and how Canada is far more superior. Us in Canada with our one road. If only I could make myself talk like South Park. I think I've already done it. Us here in Canada, we love our brainwashed mainstream media that doesn't report on the fact that these migrants are doing bad things on school grounds, like molesting girls, beating up on Jewish kids, and, last but not least, having their parents throw bricks at Canadian children, allegedly. So, But the good thing about Syria is that, we're bringing in all these unvetted migrants and refugees, and, they are kind of adapting to Canadian culture. I mean, this one gentleman who, got a house completely free for a year, didn't have to pay anything whatsoever, still complained on an Australian documentary of how, apparently in Canada, we're treating, he's got all this free stuff, but it's apparently like Guantanamo Bay. And so 9 months later, he adopted the Canadian culture by beating his wife mercilessly with a hockey stick, which is one of Trudeau's wonderful legacies of his refugee program. And as much as the Conservatives have gotten fire from it, and as much as CBC demonized them without showing any kind of, reason why or any other argument from the other side, or, talk about any of the fact that there's been, the Edmonton Mall, when they had a pool there, they had, some migrants that were trying to get a little sexually with the children, with the whole... It's ridiculous how, we're not reporting on that in Canada. It's a total media silence. And the Rebel, as much as I disagree with some of their politics, they are doing a great job showing that these cases are happening. But then, one fucking kid, they tried to say he was a Brexit and Trump supporter, but if you actually look at his, people have made the distinction from showing different videos that I've watched that, in fact, he was actually one of those green environmentalists who, kind of went all off on the deep end and, killed people in that one mosque in Quebec. And, it's unfortunate. I don't support it at all. I completely condone those kind of actions or violence whatsoever. I'm all about political, discourse and talking it out because, we all got parents, we all got, people who love us, and, in a lot of the ways we're very similar. And so that's why I don't give into this whole bullshit, because I have my views that apparently I'm some, alt-right extremist neo-Nazi, which is total bullshit, because a lot of the people out there are misogynists for, criticizing, flawed aspects of a third-wave feminist cultural Marxist propaganda. And, that's why we're winning the argument, I think, because a lot of people know that that's bullshit when they start saying racist, bigot, sexist. It means nothing now. They've completely managed to ruin the historical context in a lot of these things. I mean, they have no problem screaming out at anybody who goes off the reserve as a racist or neo-Nazi. Meanwhile, Western governments are openly supporting a neo-Nazi regime in Ukraine, and nobody gives a shit about it. That's totally fine because Pooty Poot's all evil, and we gotta do something about that. Russians, yeah, we can't be Stalin. We gotta go put them nuclear bombs in Russia because they won't fight back. At least that's what the mainstream media seems to think. They don't realize that it's like the same equivalent of all the Cold War propaganda fears where they tried to instill nothing but fear, we're going to die, it's communism versus democracy. But now all the Democrats are loving the idea of communism. They're hating the idea of democracy. So it just goes to show you when they... Stay awake, my millennials! Fucking Maxine Waters. Oh my god, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen a politician say in years. Or aside from, we came, we saw, he died. Fucking Hillary Clinton. Jesus, how many more people are gonna end up dead around investigations involving the Clintons? It's just... I guess Comey, the reason why he didn't prosecute is that old joke where he, got a suicide letter in the mail. That's why he knew he couldn't prosecute now. But yeah, anyways, so for anybody out there, I mean, I watch a lot of different, I'll watch TYT as much as I fucking hate them and their Armenian genocide denying. Or the Anna Kasparian, how she made all these videos fat shaming people, and then the first thing she says to Alex Jones is, "Get off the stage, you fat fuck!" I fucking love that. That made me laugh. I'm like, oh, the hypocrisy. And Mr. Spitting Fish Jimmy Dore completely showing them just how much they can't take anything outside of their fucking bullshit echo chamber. And, I watch a lot of different channels out there. Sometimes very cringingly, because I just see all the bullshit behind it, or just how they're trying to make false arguments. And I like their funny videos. At least that can make me laugh, and I can put my guard down and be like, all right, they're full of shit, but at least they have somewhat of a sense of humor. And in that way, it's something we can all agree and connect on in a deep kind of level. But anyways, like I said, just doing this video because of the whole CNN being blown out of the water with their own producer, kind of showing how much of the fact that it's all about ratings. Megyn Kelly doing that whole thing on Father's Day when I think I might have said earlier in the video that she had the dad on saying, "I held my dead son in my arms, and I saw the bullet in his head, and blah, 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 Alex Jones, you're so evil." But apparently that's not the case, because the actual coroner report from Sandy Hook they didn't allow the parents to see their kids. They showed them pictures of, and if this did happen, then it was horrible seeing your dead kid. But I'm starting to see that I don't know. There's a lot of evidence out there suggesting that Sandy Hook was a false flag, and there's people outside that were home that were obviously there, caught on camera. Having fucking Anderson Cooper's nose disappear when he turned. It looked like it was obviously blue screened. How they were supposed to be on different locations, and you could see the same cars going in the background in the parking lots, thinking that people were that stupid. The fact that, this is the biggest thing, and I'm surprised there's been no actual questions in the mainstream media, how there's footage showing people running away and getting arrested by police from the school. They look like they might have even be, SEALs or commandos or some shit. Some weird shit going on there. And, there was no... they even said in the initial reports how they were arresting multiple people, and then it gets down to just Adam Lanza. They didn't find any of his DNA on a lot of the stuff there, which is kind of weird, the murder weapons and everything, which you would think. They did find mixed DNA, which had other people's DNA on there and stuff like that. So I'll put a link in the description for we need to talk about Sandy Hook. It's a bunch of YouTube channels that kind of just showed the anomalies that, and I mean, hey, you know what? A couple of anomalies in a big shooting or a tragedy, and I'll be like, okay, that's coincidence. But when you have so many different aspects and anomalies that happen to the point where it could not happen in any other scenario or situation, but it happened then, really kind of makes you question the narrative. And when you look at just how much CNN has been caught manipulating things, whether or not it's what happened in the Black Lives Matter, when they pushed that whole hands up, don't shoot narrative, when they knew it was completely false. Where they had people that were witnesses there that actually said, no, he did rush a Darren guy or whatnot, the police officer anyways, and he responded accordingly. And apparently now they're going to make a Michael Brown movie. I wonder if they're going to show the robbery beforehand where he strong arms a fucking, poor fucking convenience store owner. But I bet you that won't make it in there. It'll probably be one of his buddies be like, no, man, don't steal that stuff. What are you thinking? The cop's going to kill us. Prophecy. To see him all being the good guy. He's I don't think Jesus would like it if we stole anything here. I know my mom, based off a book his mom written about him. Man, if I had a book written by my mom, I'd be the second coming of Jesus, and Lord knows I got the beard, but I'm not brown, and I don't have robes, so I'm kind of out of the running for that, but plus I don't think Jesus had any red in his beard, so yeah, kind of got that Viking Irish thing going for him. I'm not too sure if the Vikings are really into that whole Jesus thing. Oh, no, they were kind of more into the raping and pillaging aspect of their religion. So, and if you die from old age or from sickness, you're going straight to hell. So, gotta love that mythology. Gotta die in battle every day. But, anyways, jokes aside, it's just, I had to be a little lighthearted because of just everything that's going on is total bullshit. For me, I see kind of a lot of different aspects of this whole kind of globalist agenda that's being pushed. It's in the educational system being taught, teaching people how to be victims as opposed to actually getting jobs. It's the whole cultural thing where we have to, accept, make 6-year-olds aware of their sexuality when they don't really know until they're, hey, you maybe get the occasional precocious kid that, is drinking a lot of hormones and stuff, and by the age of 6 knows what they like. But we have a law here in Canada where if a kid goes through a phase and hates his parents and wants to rebel, he can actually get removed from the household. I don't think the government should really get involved in this, and when it comes to parental responsibilities, I think obviously parents shouldn't be all fucking homo, we hate you, you gotta shut up or we're gonna beat you, gay kid, you gotta go play some sports. Hey, my dad was my stepdad who raised me was old fashioned, but my little brother, he's always been feminine and used to dress up in girls' clothes and stuff like that. He's probably gonna hate me for saying this, but anyways, he's a good kid, and but he went through like phases and stuff like that, and he was always more of an artsy kid, as opposed to me, who liked to get involved in all kinds of different sports and was kind of like average at mostly every other sport and would make the teams, every now and then, depending on the sport, and like even if I wasn't in like a sports team or anything like that, I still would play, kind of sports and stuff at recess, or I moved around a lot too, so I got to like meet different kids and kind of get involved in that whole thing. And back then I was definitely a lot lighter before I screwed up my spine and kind of put on weight and stuff. So I've been trying to lose weight and dealing with that whole thing, and I have been losing a little bit from beforehand, so that's good. But anyways, enough about me, just kind of showing where my background is from and stuff like that. I mean, obviously we want to make sure that the kids are growing up in a safe environment, but I mean, I think a lot of the times it's bringing more of the government in. Like, they're trying to say co-parent in the actual is the name. So that's saying the Ontario government thinks that they are parenting your children. I think that's a fucking scary fucking road to go down when we're letting the state involved in the raising of our children. I mean, hey, I know we do it through schooling. I know we do it through like the whole mandatory immunizations and a lot of other stuff like that. I mean, hey, for me, I know the risks are very low of kids, getting messed up from vaccine or whatnot, but there is still a risk there. That's the reason why they put what the side effects and what could happen on the inserts, even though they try everything they can to say it's 100% safe and effective and stuff like that. I mean, the whole argument is, if your kid's vaccinated, then why do they have to care about getting something from another kid that's not vaccinated? I mean, the risk is solely on that kid who is unvaccinated, in theory, right? But no, because they are like, oh, parents need to have their kids taken away. And people that believe in that are just so fucking stupid and brainwashed. They don't see that anybody can make an accusation against your family or whatnot. Let's say if you have something that people don't agree with and you're too political about it, then, like homeschooling or, the whole organic movement and stuff like that. I mean, there's people in the States who homeschool or organically raise their kids on farms and stuff like that, or, have their own kind of thing. They're getting raided, or, the police or, Children's Aid Service and stuff like that. And I mean, I see it so sad because, I mean, I remember, it's kind of anecdotal, obviously, because it's just my experience, but way back in the day when I was living in Guelph, there was this family that was doing some weird kids, because there was this kid who was only about like 6 or 7, and she was like she was being like really overtly sexual with all the kids, and that was at a time where all the other kids are just like, we don't even like, we're just playing with each other because we're kids, right? We're, just like, tag or manhunt and stuff like that. But she was like doing really weird sexual stuff, and then there was also some weird shit with the dad, and Children's Aid Service was called a couple times, and 3 times that they went there, they were like, oh no, there's absolutely nothing wrong here. And then 6 months later, she ended up going, I guess the mother ended up phoning the police on the dad because he was actually like diddling her. And so, then they decided to get in there. But I see so many times where, there's actual abuse, there's actual physical or sexual abuse, and Children's Aid Service doesn't do their fucking job. In fact, they go and they go after someone for more political purposes because they have a belief, the parents have a belief, or are against the school system, or are against different aspects of the industrial pharmaceutical complex here in Canada. And people have to keep in mind that there's vaccine damage funds in the States. There's nothing of the sort here in Canada because it's all socialized medicine. So if it's covered all by the government, then technically it's not their responsibility. That's the kind of trade-off they have. So you get, free healthcare, free healthcare. I mean, hey, you know what? It's beneficial for people that have like some sort of like temporary ailment or sickness that can get rid of. But for cases, sorry, my back's acting upon me here. But for me, for example, I mean, I had to wait 2.5 years just to get told by a back specialist that there was nothing he could do. He didn't want to risk the liability issues of me, because I'm a big guy for one, and even if I lost a lot of weight, the fact that I'm a hemophilia, there's a possibility of blood getting into where the discs in my spine is. It's the lower spine, right next to my sciatica that's acting up. And, he didn't want to risk paralysis. And so I'm practically shit out of luck. But, there's laser surgery and stuff like that if I were to go to the States, which, even though there's a risk of me getting messed up, if I had 30 grand, there's a possibility I wouldn't be able to, I could get it done and actually be fixed and not have to suffer in pain and lose the ability to work and do a lot of stuff that, is really kind of pissing me off, which is, I've been doing videos and stuff like that, more as therapy, really, against just, like, how crazy and monotonous the world is. So, I mean, for me, I like to listen to other people's viewpoints and perspectives and stuff like that. So, every now and then I like, read what people are saying in the comments. But for the most part, I know I don't get really a lot of views, so I just kind of, I like to use these videos as a kind of like because I respond into a lot of political arguments on YouTube every now and then. And just so that people can actually click on there, know that A, I'm not a bot, and B, that I actually have a very extensive amount of, kind of reasoning and beliefs and systems and stuff like that I, like to, and different issues too that are important, and I believe should need to be talked in with commentary. So thank you very much for just listening to me for all this time. And anyways, keep on rocking in the free world. And I guess the last thing before I go, there's I'm trying to think here. Oh yeah, my grandparents run a kind of like one of those like side business things to make a little bit extra money. Buttons by Design. That's www.buttonsbydesign, and I'll put the link in the description. And what that is pretty practically just where you can send a design and you can make these cheap, like kind of like 3.5 inch buttons, about this size-ish or whatnot. So you put whatever you want on there, and it's actually fairly cheap for the most part. So as long as you if you provide your own design and you want a lot of buttons made, then I think that's like a $20 for the design, which kind of sucks. But if there's a lot of designs that they actually have on there that you can choose from too, and kind of make a thing on there. Or if you just want like words on it, that's very easy to do, and that doesn't cost the $20 design thing for it, because anyone can just really do that on their little program that they have there. So for anyone who wants a cheap kind of alternative way of you can make a bunch of these buttons and either give them to your friends or give them to anyone who in your local area to get whatever word out you want. It's a good way of cheap protesting and getting people to kind of like think that are just kind of on the bus or whatnot. And I guess last thing too is I know with everything that's kind of going on in the world, I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, considering just how much I'm gonna turn the light on here for a second, just how much is going on in the world. Oh, my back. It's handy to stock up and prepare. So I got myself a bucket here, about a week's supply of food for 4 people. I'm going to start stocking up regularly. Yeah, so I've already got that coming, and another one of those coming, and a couple other things too. So I think it's a really good idea to... I got mine from totalpreparedness.ca. And they had some deals on, so I ended up getting from there. My Patriot Supply also has a bunch of stuff too. Thing is, it's it's U.S. food, but it's like non-GMO, organic and stuff, from what they say. Hopefully, anyways. I hope I'm not getting took it for a ride here. But the good thing about My Patriot Supply is even for people on like a budget, for example, that don't have a whole lot, maybe like $30 to $50, you can they do ship to Canada because I asked them and whatnot. And they have cans in there of like juice or pudding or like soups and stuff like that you can just add water to, and it's really handy that way. So it's always good to keep some water on hand. Let's say if you got a lot of room somewhere, like I use the back part of my closet because I don't really have a whole lot of clothes and stuff, mostly just political shirts and stuff like that I have to trigger social justice warriors and stuff. So I mean, it's good to kind of store stuff in there. Just make sure at least you have at least 2 weeks at the very minimum for your family, because you never know what could happen. I mean, especially for people living in the States. I mean, you got tornadoes, you got hurricanes, or people on the East Coast, for example, West Coast for earthquakes. You never really know what can happen. And I mean, when you take the Carrington event in the mid-1800s, I mean, that came from the sun. It was a solar, coronal mass ejection that just completely ran amok on the ionosphere and completely caused all kinds of telephone wire, not telephone wires, but I think telegraph, where they have the ... all the stuff there, and transmission lines completely fried them. So and the funny thing is, if you actually look at what it takes for it only takes one serious nuclear EMP detonation in the atmosphere to completely take out a lot of North America. I'm actually going to be doing this as a project. I'm going to be learning how to do amateur radio. I'll be getting into that soon. I'm just trying to, get some preparedness stuff. Kind of like I ultimately want to have at least 3 months of stuff just in case, because it's always insurance you can eat too, right? So it's food that if it ever comes down to it, you can just save on groceries for a bit, and I mean it lasts 20 to 25 years, so that's always good. And I'm actually thinking about making kind of a makeshift Faraday cage of putting in. I'm gonna make it big, like a decent size, just because my grandparents want to put one of their spare generators in there, and it's always good to have a spare generator, and also make sure that you have like some sort of. You can make a Faraday cage out of a garage. You can make it. I've even seen people do it out of insulated garbage bins, but I'm not too sure how well that would actually hold up in a very strong EMP. There's also those Mylar bags that you can get for very cheap, for about $20-25, that you can put stuff in that would last about apparently they say about 8 to 10 seconds, which is what we normally get from an electromagnetic pulse wave. From what I've researched anyways. I mean, I could be talking about my ass on that. And if I am, feel free to go in the comments and call me out on it. So, and also, for people that listen to I know I kind of like hold stuff in what I want to say, and then just a key event like CNN imploding and getting busted by James O'Keefe, that man who's a hero to us all. It's kind of like me doing like these long videos, but on the bright side, anybody who's listening, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and support, and I love the fact that you guys are listening to me, and I know I'm not getting a whole lot of subscribers and stuff like that, but I mean, the reason why I never really thought I would, and I mean, there's so many different platforms out there that are like more knowledgeable, have better equipment, for me, my videos that are really good, I find, are the ones that I don't do the thing where I'm just talking at length, because I'm able to talk at length for a long period of time, but I like the videos where I'm able to like show all my points and show all my footnotes and kind of do it that way. So like the economic collapse series, this society manipulation series that I have also in different areas that you can see there for the different genres. But anyways, thank you very much for listening. Keep on rocking in the free world as long as it stays free, and thanks again for all your time. Have a good one.